Italians are heading to the polls in a vote that is widely expected to return a far-right government to the helm for the first time since World War II. With just a few hours to go, Giorgia Meloni is forecast to become the country's first female prime minister, leading her Brothers of Italy party to head a right-wing alliance. Exit polls won't be available until after ballots shut at 11 p.m. local time. Well, for more, let's cross live to Rome, where I'm joined by our Europe editor, Catherine Nicholson. Catherine, it's good to see you. Thank you for being with us. Let's start first by telling us a bit about where you are.
Yes, I think you can probably see the big screen behind me showing a map of Italy and all of its various voting constituency. I am at the Interior Ministry. This is the place where all of the results are going to be collated. At this point, we're only getting turnout data, of course, because polling stations are open until 11 p.m. And I can give you the latest figures on turnout. They came in at 7 p.m. local time. They showed that at that point, just over 51% of Italy's 51 million eligible voters had cast a ballot. Now, that is actually quite a lot down on the last general election in 2018, where at that point the turnout was 58%. So this seeming to confirm predictions that had been made beforehand that this election will have a historically low turnout. This after what's been widely seen as quite a lacklustre campaign by all parties.
Let's talk about the EU for a second. Giorgia Meloni, who's tipped to be winning the vote there, she's been described as a eurosceptic, hasn't she?
She certainly has, and she definitely has a Eurosceptic past that's certainly documented. However, today, right now, she's saying she doesn't want an Italexit. She doesn't want to leave the EU, and she doesn't want to leave the euro currency either. However, what she does want is something that people talk about as a Europe of nations. You might have heard French far-right politician Marine Le Pen talking about wanting the same thing, a much looser alliance of European countries, giving them much more autonomy, breaking away from some of the treaty commitments that they have as part of the European Union at this point. Now, she also, in terms of her policies, shares anti-immigration views and anti-LGBTI views with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Now, he's somebody who has repeatedly talked about the EU, about Brussels institutions as victimising Hungary, about picking on his country and attacking it. Within her right-wing coalition, Giorgia Meloni has teamed up with some other Eurosceptics, including the former Interior Minister Matteo Salvini. And I just wanted to add on a more basic point. If Giorgia Meloni does become Italy's next Prime Minister, then this means that the EU's third biggest economy will go from having a very experienced and a Europhile politician, indeed the former head of the European Central Bank, Mario Draghi, the outgoing Prime Minister, and go to an untested Prime Minister in Giorgia Meloni, whose party has never been in power in any coalition. So just on that basic level, that's certainly something that's making sure that eyes in Brussels and around the EU are firmly fixed on Rome tonight.
Well, certainly a big change and indeed a softening of stances there. How have the EU leaders been reacting to the ongoing election in Italy?
Well, I'm sure you know that EU leaders tend to try and keep their oar out of domestic politics in the various EU states. However, Ursula von der Leyen, on a recent trip to the United States, was asked if she was concerned about the election in Italy. Well, she said, well, whatever democratic government is willing to work with us, we're working together with them. But then she added something that got a bit more fight back here in Italy. She said, if things go in a difficult direction, we've talked about Hungary and Poland, and we have tools, she said. Now, that context about Hungary and Poland, they're both seen by the European Commission as having downgraded respect for rule of law in their countries, in their institutions and laws. Hungary, indeed, as the European Commission has recommended, it have over 7 billion euros of funding withheld because of those rule of law issues. So Matteo Salvini hit back at this comment by Ursula von der Leyen. He said, is this a threat? Is she threatening Italy? So some feisty words there. And just a word about the French presidents as well. Emmanuel Macron, leader of the EU's second biggest economy. We do know from French government officials that he has already agreed with Olaf Scholz, the head of the EU's biggest economy, that they are going to get together in the coming days and talk about whatever the result of this Italian election ends up being.
Okay, well, thank you for that update. Catherine Nicholson joining us there live from the Italian Interior Ministry.